Hello everyone, I'm Colin Kinnett. Today I'm going to take you through the process of what I do to get perfect glue ups. And gluing boards together is one of the foundations of woodwork, so it's really something that we need to get correct. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, I invite you to do that. You can also follow me on my social media channels. But let's get started with the perfect glue up. Now, the reason we want to have a perfect glue up is because it saves us so much time later on if we do things right to begin with. What is a perfect glue up? First of all, we want nice, tight joints in all of our board connections. We want a board that is flat from end to end and from side to side. What we don't want to happen is we don't want to have any missing glue in our joints because that creates voids and they're impossible to fix. The other thing we want to prevent is any glue from getting on the surface, especially if we can't see it, because then it affects our finish later on. In order to get perfect glue ups, the assistance of a tool is a huge benefit. This is a biscuit joiner. For those of you who have biscuit joiners and it works for you and you like it, do not change no matter what anybody says. Stick with tools that work. If you have a biscuit joiner and it's not working for you, it's not doing what you want, I have a video on things that you can do to help use this machine. And that video will pop up in this little area in that little circle. If you do not have a biscuit joiner, this might be another alternative. It's called a Dowel Max. Many of you already have one of these. This, for me, replaces the biscuit joiner and it replaces a mortising machine. If you're not familiar with the Dowel Max, I'll put a link in the description box below and in the article on Woodwork Web. You'll be able to go and check it out for yourself. It comes with a 3/8 size dowel hole. I have an optional 1/4 inch. I like the 1/4 inch better for doing glue ups. One of the reasons that I moved from biscuit joiners to Dowel Max is the telegraphing that you can get when you use biscuits. So today I'll be using that and I'll show you how to use it. The glue up I'm doing today purposely has 3 different thicknesses of boards. And I've done that on purpose so that you can see just how easy it is to align boards so that you get an absolutely flat surface. To start off with today, I'm going to mark the face side of all of my boards. I've always done that. I use blue painter's tape. Never be ashamed to be marking your wood so that you know exactly what you're working with. I'm also going to mark the ends, and you'll see in a minute why that becomes important. And just quickly, on my doweling jig, I have blue tape on there, and that helps me identify that this is the face edge, and that will match up with the face edge of my boards. To start drilling my dowel holes for my placement, I'm setting the machine here on the very edge, and if you look carefully, you might be able to see blue tape down there. The first thing I'm going to do is drill a hole. In this case, I'm going to use hole number 3. And now I'm going to move the jig along. You can notice I've also got the face edge here, face edge to face edge. I'm going to move the jig along to here, and I'm going to use this a little adapter that they have to mark my next spot. And I'll do it one more time as I'm putting 3 dowels in the edge of each board. Okay, now that board is done. I'll bring the next board in here and I'll do exactly the same thing so that those dowel pins will align in each board. Now that all my holes are drilled, I'm going to take a quick moment and do a dry fit to make sure they all fit. go, perfect. And you can see already that that's a perfect flat top. Okay, I'll pull those out to apply the glue. Now before I add glue to my joints here, the reason that I don't use cauls is because if the boards are uneven, and often they are, like mine are right now today, you can't use cauls because it doesn't align them evenly. And secondly, you always want glue to squeeze out of a joint, and when you've got cauls sitting on there, now you have to start applying plastic or something on there so that it doesn't stick to your caul. So it just makes the gluing much messier. You can also use, I know people that use angle iron as cauls, and again, it's the same issue that you have with glue squeezing out. So when we're applying glue, we want to put enough glue on there that the glue is going to squeeze out, but we don't want to put so much glue on there that it's going to run down the side of the board before we can get it clasped together. And I always put glue on both surfaces, and that's just to get a good bonding. If you think you have too much glue, you're better off to take some of it off. And that's exactly what I'm doing right now. There, you can see that I've got all the boards aligned. I have a nice flat top there, and there's glue squeeze out all the way around. One thing I noticed, I just touched a bit of glue, and I've just put a little bit of it on there, and I'm marking that so that I know that I've inadvertently put a bit of glue there, and I'll need to do special attention to that later on. I'm going to leave this now until the glue hardens enough that I can scrape that off, and I'll come back in about 25-30 minutes and we'll check that and take the glue off then. Okay, that's been about 45 minutes. I've removed all of the blue tape from the faces. And if you look closely at the glue, you'll notice that it's two colors. It's a dark yellow and a light yellow. The light yellow is still, the glue is still not dried hard. And I want to do this before the glue dries hard. Now, there's a couple of instruments. In the past, I used to use a chisel like this. This is a very dull chisel, and I would very carefully go down the seam like this. The problem that I experienced with this on a few occasions, once in a while where the glue was a little bit harder, it would grab some of the wood underneath and it would lift up right at the joint. It would lift up a little bit of wood, and that would mean you would have to cut it and redo that whole joint. Now I use a paint scraper, and I've never had a failure with this. This is the best and easiest, and when the glue is still a little on the green side the way it is right now, it's a perfect time to take that glue off, and you just run along that seam and just scrape that off just like that. It does a quick, clean job. Now, because that wood is so even, you can see how even that is. It is easy to get off. Now, there's also the little part that I put the circle around there. I can still feel that a little bit. I'm going to scrape that. I can just feel that coming off of there. And I'm going to leave that on here because I want to pay special attention to that when it comes to sanding, and that will be the next thing. That will be for another video. Now, the reason that I don't put water on here and rub it off like this. First of all, that can often just smear the glue around on your wood. And when you do that, sometimes you can't tell where it is. And it's very hard sometimes on some woods to detect where you might have glue. And when you, even after you've sanded it, sometimes you can find that there's places that you missed and you don't notice that until you put a stain or a dye on, and then you have blotchy parts on it. So that's why I use the paint scraper and I wait till the glue is almost dry. Now I'm going to continue to leave this on here overnight until this glue has had a chance to harden, but I just wanted to show you how flat and straight that is. So that's exactly what we're looking for. Well, that concludes my video for today, how to make the perfect glue up. And of course, there are other ways of making glue ups. This is the one that I've been using for some time. It's bulletproof, it works every time, and that's why I use it time and time again. I do have a follow-up video I'll be releasing next week, and that is on the preparation. So the sanding and all that goes on after the glue up and before the finishing, a very important step, and I'll be detailing that next week. I've got some new techniques that you probably haven't seen before. I hope you'll be able to join me then. I'm Colin Canet for Woodwork Web. Thanks for watching.